We'll call this meeting to order. If you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first order of business is approving the minutes from the October 24th board workshop. Everyone had a chance to review?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Edits? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, public comment? There's no public, so no public comment. Okay, on to regular business. The first item of business is the 24-25 seasonal all-night parking law towing contract. We have towing contract. We reached out to probably more than three, but we have 3 responses. The only one who wanted to be considered for the contract was H&N Towing Enterprises. And their proposal is towing fee to include 3 days of free storage, $205 a vehicle, and then per diem storage after the initial 3 days is $75 per day per vehicle. This is actually the company that has done our towing contract for the last several years, and we just need to approve this contract for this season. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions?
How does this rate compare to the prior contract for the same service?
I can go look it up.
It may be slightly higher, but it's in the ballpark.
Oh, so it's roughly the same.
similar.
Okay.
I think it's slightly higher, but it's not a significant change.
I just could imagine someone, if they went away on vacation, coming back to a very large bill.
Mm-hmm. I will say that the first of all, because overnight parking, that would be if you left during the day and didn't realize, if you are in the habit of leaving your car overnight, you will know. We start out with notices on cars saying,
Okay.
don't forget, you can't park overnight, etc. In our parking lot, for example, we're not going to get towed from the parking lot, but you would get a notice after. So I think we do our best to communicate as much as possible.
I'm the only ones that are going to do it, so I'm the only ones that wanted to do it.
What's that?
They're the only ones that wanted to do it.
Yes,
So
that's correct. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The next item is the PenFlex Service Award. So PenFlex is the company that administers our LoSAP program for the fire company. And this is they provide us with an updated service fee agreement every year. This is an increase from last year. I believe it was $2,100. If you look on the third page, the base fee is proposed at $2,300. Last year it was $2,100. Everything else I think is the same. And they provide us with the service that we need. I don't have any issues with PenFlex. Just so, I don't know how many times we've talked about it, and it's never too many. PenFlex does the administration of the program. The fire company provides the numbers, the backup, the service awards, etc. PenFlex administers it, and then RBC is the investment management company. So they are the ones who manage the money. PenFlex says, with our approval, will say, okay, send a check to here, or what have you. May I have a motion to approve, to authorize me to sign the service fee agreement for 24-25?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns, issues? I will point out that they are offering a one-time bonus credit of $1,500 per each successful referral if we were to PenFlex to anyone else. So if you know of any other municipalities who need make sure they tell PenFlex that we're the ones who referred. Okay, the next, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next item of business is something we've been talking about for several months. As promised, I brought the resolution forward for this meeting. And this is a resolution to abolish the Office of Village Justice. As we reviewed the consultant's report on what that would look like, what the numbers are, and I have confirmed with the town that they are prepared, willing, and able to absorb the work of the village court. I will say it's with mixed emotions. I think the piece that I find, I guess positive is the word, is that Judge Jonah Triebwasser has indicated multiple times now that he is not going to run for re-election. And so he has been our village judge for many years. I'll have to look up how many years. It's been at least 20.
I think it's at least 20.
Well, we'll know by the time we get there, but or I will have looked it up. But I think to end with him as the last village judge, I think there's something lovely about that. And we'll do some sort of tribute to him when the time comes. But this is a resolution, which would be resolution number 38, to abolish the Office of Village Justice. Whereas pursuant to 3-3012A of the Village Law of the State of New York, the Board of Trustees of any village by resolution subject to permissive referendum may abolish the Office of Village Justice to take effect upon the expiration of the current term of such office. And whereas the Board of Trustees has investigated the effectiveness and has considered the financial prudence of abolishing said office and those resultant from the town justices assuming the functions previously performed by the village justices, and whereas the Board of Trustees finds that the needs of the village for the prosecution of violations under the village code and other matters can be handled effectively by the town court, now therefore be it resolved that the Office of Village Justice, together with the acting village justice, if any, court clerk, and all supportive services be, and the same hereby is, abolished upon the expiration of the current term, ending March 31st, 2027. And be it further resolved that this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum, and the village clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish and post notice of such adoption in accordance with the law. And just to clarify, permissive referendum means that if someone feels that this should be voted on by the voting public, they can get, I believe it's 10% of the village voters to sign a petition that would then trigger a mandatory referendum, which is a vote of all the voters in the village. And the permissive referendum, the time period for that to happen is 30 days once it's been published in the newspaper. Be it further resolved that this resolution will be effective upon the date of the expiration of the period for the referendum or upon a referendum vote supporting the abolition of the Office of the Village Justice.
Can I make a correction?
Sure.
The term, Judge Triebwasser's term does not end until April 5th, 2027.
I will say that he told me that's when it ended, but we will make an amendment of April 5th, 2027. I will make this motion, and I will ask for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions, comments, thoughts, edits?
So if this goes through, then it gets posted to the newspaper, like.
Well, it gets published in the newspaper. It also gets posted in a few different locations,
And posted on the board.
and it'll go on the website.
I was thinking like how our residents will know, because going back to that point of the education to the people and where do people actually get their information from, something like this, I feel like maybe if we could take a step to try and find another location to make an announcement as it's a bigger weight, or
An article's been published in both the Daily Catch and the Daily Freeman. We have spoken about it at least 3 of our meetings. I believe I put it in one of my newsletters. If I didn't, I'll put it in the November one. And our official newspaper of record is the Daily Freeman, so that's where it will be published. It'll be on our bulletin board. I think sometimes well, no, there's not really a bulletin board there anymore. There's not a lot of other locations. But feel free to put it out there if you have other means to communicate. It's kind of why I've tried to bring it up as many times as possible, and again, because it's been there've been actual articles about it. And I think one of the reasons why it's a financial positive for the village. The costs are higher than what's brought in.
Right.
And the other is many of the people who come through the court are not village residents. And there is a lot of confusion over whether it's the town or the village. So I think it will actually both make it simpler, and it will also allow for more consistent court coverage in the one location in the end. Because here we have 2 days a week, and I believe in the town they have maybe 2 or 3 days. So this will give there'll be more action is the wrong word, but there'll be more activity, and so that will encourage and support more consistent court coverage, which I think will just make for better service in that way. So I think that's the other reason why we don't have a lot of. I think we've made as good an effort as I know how to get it out and about. Any other questions?
Sorry.
That's okay. Just keep coughing that way. Okay, I will do a roll call vote. Deputy Mayor Caravel?
Aye.
Trustee Appenzeller?
Aye.
Trustee Bradley Ricard?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Thank you. Projects also started working on, I think in 2019, so that one's been one that's been looked at for a while. Okay, the next one is another one that that brings me pause, because this next one is talking about our treasurer. So I can formally announce that our wonderful treasurer, Ms. Urban, has submitted her resignation as of the end of her term, which is effective April 7.
I can look it up.
I can confirm that.
Yeah,
She's confirming it for me.
The other one was 2027, the year.
Oh, good point. Yes, sorry, I'm conflating the years. This is April 7, 2025. We don't have you for 2.5 years. While I accept your letter of resignation with regret, I am deeply grateful for the time and the fact that you are still with us for another many months. Look forward to your continued contribution and service to the village, but it has been a wonderful treat to have you as our village treasurer. With that, and in consultation with our treasurer Urban, as well as our controller Michelle Zagorski, thank you. I was headed in a completely wrong direction. Apologies. We all know the senior
fiscal leave on that.
Well, yes, there's that as well. But also in my experience as mayor for these past 3 years. Oh gosh, it's almost 3.5 years. Time does fly. I believe that the best way forward is to engage a full-time treasurer. I think that our current treasurer will confirm that she's hard pressed to keep up, and with all of the things that come in, and there are more things that could and probably should be engaged in the treasurer's office. And so I am proposing to you that we, so what I have for you is a resolution to authorize the change to a full-time treasurer. And I'll read the whereases. The current treasurer has submitted her resignation, her last day of work being April 3rd, 2025. After discussion and review of the list of duties, it has been determined that the village would benefit from having a full-time treasurer. Well, actually, I'm not going to read the rest of it because I need to share with you. I did go through a process of looking at, and I did not make multiple copies. I will read it out and then pass it on to you. What I'm proposing is a full-time treasurer at $30 an hour. Full-time comes with benefits. And the biggest cost of benefits is the health insurance. So if someone were to take a single, did I take that into account? I don't think I did. If it's single coverage, it's one thing. If it's family coverage, it's obviously significantly more. I am also proposing that the new hire would contribute 15% towards their health insurance. I believe in my numbers I may not have taken that into account now that I'm looking at it. Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did. And what I'm also proposing is that the resolution is to authorize me to proceed with the process of hiring a full-time treasurer. What we'd like is to have as much overlap as we can get, because there are a lot of things particularly if someone's not coming from another municipality. There's just a lot of detail to municipal work. So I did the numbers based on starting January, I think 6th. Yes, January 6th. That's probably optimistic. So we probably won't, we'll see, but we probably won't have someone in place in the beginning of January, but hopefully sometime thereafter we would have someone, and that would give them 2.5 months to overlap with, and so that would be to overlap with Lori. So the annual cost for a treasurer with single coverage is, rounding is $69,000. If it's family coverage, it's $88,000, and so an average of $78,000. And if for 5 months, I have less 2 months of the current treasurer. Yes, that's right, April, May. Sorry, the brain's not functioning well tonight. So the increased cost to the budget is somewhere between 23 and 31,000. So I did an average of 27,000 is the increase to the budget. In the budget, there was an additional 10,000 put into the administration budget. We also had agreed, though we haven't formally approved, but we agreed that we would put, actually I think we did formally approve, that the planning work would be paid for by ARPA. And so we have $25,000 in the planning budget that we can use towards this increased cost. And also the water revenue and the water fund is undercounted in the budget. And so there's some additional monies. I just put down 5,000. So that gives us a range of up to 40,000, which is well more than what we would need for the increase. And then going into 25, 26, we would just account for this increased cost. I firmly believe that it will be a significant benefit to the village. And also, I think the caliber and the longevity of someone that we could hire will be much greater if we have a full-time opportunity. Because I think there's a real benefit in having longevity in the treasurer's role that would be of benefit to the village. So, do you have any other questions regarding the the dollars.
How does it compare to other municipality pay scale on that for this position?
It's on average, I have a whole list upstairs. I think it's the Village of Wappingers, I believe they have 60,000 in their budget, and this at $30 an hour, the pay is 58,000 and change. It's not on the high scale. The benefit is certainly the benefits. It's not low, but it's not on the high scale. Any other questions about the numbers? All right, I'll continue to read my resolution. The board has reviewed the additional cost of a full-time treasurer and understands that the additional cost for 24-25, if starting January 6th, will range from 23 to 31,000. And whereas the board I've shared the budget and recognized that there's about $10,000 available within the existing treasurer and clerk budgets in the general water and sewer funds. And whereas the board has approved paying for the planning work using ARPA funding at a prior meeting, meaning that the $25,000 in the budget for planning is available to cover the remaining extra cost. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Newburgh as follows. The mayor is authorized to proceed with the process to hire a full-time treasurer at $30 an hour with a 15% contribution toward health insurance from the employee, starting work no earlier than January 6, 2025.
I'm so sorry.
You have water.
I do have water. It's just this cold. I'm sorry.
Don't envy you. The budget will be adjusted when the new treasurer is hired and the additional costs are clear. The village has been fortunate to have the talents and expertise and style of Lori Urban as our treasurer for the past 2 years, and thanks her for her service. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Kim. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further questions, thoughts, discussion?
Just thank you, Lori, for all the work you've put in. I know that you've worked really hard at getting things in order.
The good news is she tells me she's not going away, so we will, and we know where she lives. So,
Which is within the confines of the village.
exactly. So she'll keep an eye on us and perhaps be available with some
Echoing that also, I appreciate it.
questions.
Thank you. It's been a very fun adventure, lots of learning, and I've appreciated my coworkers enormously, particularly my roommates in the clerk's office. Love them.
Okay, any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Deputy Mayor Carroll?
Aye.
Trustee Appenzeller?
Aye.
Trustee Bradley Ricard?
Aye.
Mary, aye. Okay, thank you very much. The next item is my budget adjustments. This would be resolution number 40. And for the general fund, this is really just accounting for what we know already to be of change. We got a random $2 payment, something related to a fee for garnishment or something. Very confusing, but it is where it needs to be, and so it just needs to be adjusted to be accounted for. The court has spent more in miscellaneous, so I'm just moving things from supplies to miscellaneous. The legal union services, I know that is going to be higher because we are continuing with union negotiations. Our legal representative there has been extremely helpful, and just using him more than we would on an average year. And the miscellaneous law is really kind of there to cover whatever's coming up in that year, and so that's it. Unallocated insurance, we just had an additional cost because we had to renew our New York State Department of Transportation work permit. And so in our budget, it's listed as Veterans Park, but we all refer to it as Memorial Park. So we will be changing that label coming up. But the electric panel in Memorial Park was in significant need of repair and actually replacement. So there is a charge that is coming for $3,000, and so this was in anticipation of that. The work has been done, which is good because we have Veterans Day on Monday, which will take advantage of the electric panel there. And then the Community Action Partnership, as we agreed at the last meeting. Under the water fund, other compensation for loss. If someone, there was a situation where a contractor broke our water line, and so that we charged them to fix the water line. There are a couple of items of that nature, which is where this comes from, so this is reflecting actual. And then the water purification, this is just shifting the budget to where it actually should be. And water repair, in looking at the highway budget, the highway water maintenance is the payroll associated with the DPW. We need to move towards calling them DPW instead of highway. But what's happening is because of the new equipment that we have, we are able to do more of our water repairs in-house. And so I'm just shifting from one category to the other. And then for the WIA project, this just represents we are receiving funding from EFC, which is the bond anticipation note, and then these are the expenses that are covered by that funding. On the next page, for the sewer fund, we are receiving interest income on the sewer funds that are in the bank, and so that's reflecting that. And the supplies, it's just higher than we budgeted, so there's some adjustments there. And then on the grease trap pumping and the tank pumping, sometimes the bill comes in and it's all combined, and so just shifting the numbers to reflect where it's going. And then, of course, the Social Security that goes with the DPW payroll that is falling under the sewer fund. Honestly, I just forgot that line when I did the budget. So I will take a motion. I think this is number 40.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Now, there's another item that's not, so ARPA funding was on the agenda. I do not have things prepared. We will talk ARPA funding at the November workshop, and we will certainly have some things to commit to at our December meeting. But there's another item that I'd like to discuss, and Kim, I'm going to kick it over to you. This is about composting in the village and a potential grant.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, we have Dutchess County Composting extended their grant opportunities for this year. Deadline is actually Thursday, 3 p.m., but they're offering 2 grants to municipalities and school districts, one of which was not one we're going for, which is to have their own actual composting on site with an aerobic composter, which we're not going for. But the other program is up to $20,000 in reimbursement grants for starting a new compost location pickup site. And so for this, we're looking at partnering a little bit with the town and piggybacking off of what the town's compost site is doing and having a drop-off site here in the village to make it more accessible to more local residents. One of the benefits of composting through a sort of commercial composter like this would be you can compost bones, meat, and oils instead of you would do in your backyard where you'd have to stay away from all of that. But for this grant, we would be looking to potentially partner with the Ozone, have compost bins here, and then have a pickup, and as well offering kitchen compost bins for the households of those who want them, so they can store their compost and bring them to the drop-off site. we're looking at doing a application, like I said, that's due on Thursday for the initial program, in which case we're looking at roughly 32 bins for the families to get us started, and then putting out the assessment. The grant is reimbursement, like I said, and it can cover the cost of startup things. So if we were to do a covered or controlled access point shed for the compost bins, we could apply for grant funding for that. Gloves, shed, if we had to lay a slab to put the shed on, that would be covered. What is not covered through this grant would be ongoing work costs. So if we partner with the Ozone to do our pickup, the annual cost of that would not be covered through the grant, but the startup options would be covered.
So what we talked about was, because Kim spoke with the Ozone, and for them, it really needs to be a 4-bin minimum before it becomes economically logical for them to do. The town has bins, they have 4 bins. And so Kim did get a price for an additional bin, and these are all things that we need to obviously work out before Thursday. We can also choose, if they grant us the grant and we decide it's not what we want to do, we can always decline the grant. But the idea was to look at the possibility and discuss with both Ozone and the town and our DPW as well, is if we had a bin, put it here in the village somewhere, we obviously need to figure out where that would be, and then I believe it's once a month that it gets picked up.
Once a week.
It gets picked up once a week?
Yeah, I got information on the grant with the 4 bins, it's once a week.
Interesting. It would be interesting to see how much we collect, but the notion would be that prior to pickup at the town, this would be the DPW, we've not had a conversation with our foreman yet, take the bin to the town site so that we would just be an additional bin for them. Otherwise, we would have to do the minimum, which ends up being about $5,200 a year, which I think is way too much for this program. But if we do it in conjunction, it's $54 a month is what we're thinking,
Yeah,
and so that's
subsidized bin is $54 for the extra bin. I just have to confirm with Amelia how that tier system breaks out, because I just got the sort of whole list of offerings.
So we have a number of things to work out, but at $54 a month times 12, that's $648. So that, I think, is worth. We also need to commit to 18 months of doing it for the grant. So I wanted to have, again, the timing is such. Kim thought she had an extra month, so. But I think it's an opportunity to provide people in the village, and certainly if we do it, if we put the bin, say, somewhere in the village parking lot, it's a place one could walk their bin to, you could drive to. I think we need to be mindful of those who might drive in. We need to think about how we would make it. I think that the village of Rhinebeck has a code so the only way you can get in is if you know the code, kind of thing. So there are some details to work out, but I wanted to see what you all thought about the concept of giving it a try.
Can I ask 2 questions?
No. You may ask as many questions as you like.
I'll start with the first. So the improvement, the idea of because we already have access to the town, all villagers have access to the town compost, right? And the improvement would be that it would be a secondary site that you can walk to. Is that the idea?
Yeah, and currently, so for the town, the access is limited hours on, I believe it's Wednesdays and Saturdays when the recycling center is open. The idea that we were thinking for this would just be accessible to the residents. So it would, like if setting it up with a code, the residents who participate in the program would be given the code. They could come in, drop off their stuff because they have the code. It doesn't necessarily have to have somebody like sitting there maintaining and watching it for a controlled access. So it allows residents to have more opportunities to compost their food.
True, but there is an opportunity already that exists, and we'd be adding an ongoing cost and also maintenance, because there will be maintenance of this kind of setup. I'm not against it per se, but I just wonder, we just talked about shutting down the court. Does it make sense, like what is the, are we making things more efficient? And are we expanding it enough that it makes sense to do it here in the village like that? Yeah.
It's an interesting question of do we have any indication of how many villagers would participate?
I mean, I would think, and again, certainly the points of adding additional maintenance and operations costs and activities, we would have some time to study that. This is, I think, the preliminary stage of just making sure we're eligible for a grant, and we can decide ultimately, I believe from what you said, that we can decide not to ultimately avail ourselves of the grant if it turns out after some additional discussion and analysis it may not make sense.
I will say that I believe the grants are awarded in December, so that's the time frame. We would have to say yay or nay, so we don't have a lot of time. But yes, we could certainly do that. But you're correct in that the minimum amount we would be adding would be the $640, $50 a year.
And I know Red Hook, like, you give out a code, there may very well be that we're running something for the town residents as well, and that's not to say.
And I would expect they probably would, because the accessibility is much greater. And that
Yeah.
Because you can access it frankly 24/7, and we're probably not going to put it in a place you can't get at.
But maybe there'd be a way to do sort of a shared services thing with the town where we could combine.
So,
This
like,
is-
we do, yes, for this grant opportunity, the grant is only available for new sites. So we wouldn't be able to then sort of like man like additional hours over there through the grant. The grant is to set up new collection sites for it.
No, I meant as in like that we could accept some of the town's compost at this site because we'd be a partner somehow. And then they could help offset the cost.
Well, arguably, they would help us offset the cost because we wouldn't be able to do a single bin otherwise.
Yeah. So right
So
now
we
the idea would
need
be
the town to be willing to let us put our bin next to theirs so that Ozone can pick ours up the same time they're picking up the town. So we're basically adding to their contract is what we're doing. So it really is in partnership with the town.
Okay.
and also they need to be amenable to that.
Yes. And I'm still not clear exactly where we would put it, how we would, eventually it's going to need to be cleaned out, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Though our DPW can do that at some point.
On Hardscrabble Day, I
Clean out
was
your bin?
No,
next to the garbage truck.
I mean, Lori would know better, but Ozone brings back a clean bin.
Yeah.
Right, they bring back a clean bin. So if listening to the discussion here, if we have a bin and we bring it over to the town and Amelia picks it up there, she might do the same thing for our bin as she does with the town bins, which is leave new bins. She takes the 6 that the town has and leaves 6 cleaned out new bins ready to go.
Oh, there you go. Okay. That's cool.
So it is, just to comment on what you were saying, I don't know what kind of discussions you've had with the town so far, if any, but you might want to just lob that over there because it is very, that the program in place over there is working well, and the idea of bringing over another bin might be easy peasy, no problem, but you have to consult with the guys who run the recycling center, and you would want their buy-in as opposed to
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mainly because I think that I don't know how we would make it work in terms of would it be a separate contract, or would we just add on to their contract and I don't know how that would work. We haven't figured that out yet either. We'd have to, I don't know if Amelia would send us a separate bill or if we would send the town money.
I don't know.
All those things to work out. So yeah, those are all those things are contingent. I know Kim has been in touch with.
I've been in contact with Lori Houston.
Oh, great.
So
Absolutely. She's the woman, and TJ at the recycle center. Those are your people for sure.
So yeah. And then obviously like if we don't want to add to we don't want to add any cost to the town, and we don't want to interrupt the town's program. We want this to be a sort of a collaborative, making it easy, because like here, you know, Amelia sort of says like the 4 bin is like the minimum general level of making it worthwhile, if you will. So if we don't have the capacity or the budgetary option to do 4 bins here, if there's maybe not as many interested families involved, what's a way that we can sort of get creative with this? And if it is end up being, hey, we bring a bin over and it's amenable and doesn't add anything, and then we cover the cost of that bin and the apportioned section to it. But yes, all things to discuss and consider, and making sure that it's
idea.
Really?
Not a problem at all.
So, I'm just thinking through I'm thinking about the motion being, motion to authorize the mayor to submit a grant application to the county for a new compost program for the village. Assuming that the town approves, agrees, is in agreement, or assuming that the town will accept our bin next to theirs for pickup. That Ozone is also in agreement and in consultation with our DPW foreman. Any other? And I'd like, and recognizing that this program must last 18 months. And do we want to have a cost to the village at no more than, not to exceed, $700 annually?
I'm just wondering if we need this detail for the grant application resolution, or if it comes upon accepting the grant, put it in.
Well, like, I mean, we can wait, I guess if we know, I mean, at this point, what we're thinking is the cost of doing it, the outward cost, because obviously there'll be a cost of time for the DPW to do the transfer. And we know, I don't know of any other costs that we would need to incur on an ongoing basis. Any other costs we can think of any startup cost should go in the grant application, right?
Yeah.
Because if we find out, you know, in the next 3 days that there's another $1,000 that we hadn't thought of, I would say that we would need to rethink that. Do you want to say not to exceed?
Should we say not to exceed $1,000? Is that?
That sounds fair.
Sure. For ongoing village costs. How's that for a motion?
Oh,
Sounds
yeah.
good. You got that? Would you like to read back what you have?
No. The radio goes on the tape.
Well, I'll read what I wrote. Motion to authorize the mayor to submit a grant application to the county for a new compost program for the village, assuming that the town will accept our bin next to theirs for pickup, that Ozone is also in agreement, and in consultation with our DPW foreman. Recognizing that this program will need to last for a minimum of 18 months, and the ongoing cost to the village not to exceed $1,000. Anyone like to make that motion?
So moved?
Thank you. Anyone like to make a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Alrighty, now we are on to, let me just mention that, so our workshop meeting is going to be November 21st, which is the third Thursday, because the fourth Thursday is Thanksgiving. And much as we love you all, we don't like to be having eaten too much turkey. And then the next board meeting is December 9th, which is that our regular? That's our regular time, I think. So our next regular board meeting is December 9th. Okay. What's that?
It's regular time.
I think it's the December workshop is the third Thursday again. On to treasurer's report.
We'll see. I'll call an audible if I need to. I get into fits. I can't quite.
As long as you call Ida.
And look at that, there you are on the screen.
Oh, goodness. Good evening, Board of Trustees and people viewing at home. This is the Treasurer's Report for November 4th, 2024, and I'll begin with our account balances as of 10/31/24. In our general fund, we had $1,539,816.69. Water fund, $509,705. The payroll clearing account had $46,880.10. Sewer fund, $203,785.84. Hard scrabble account, $4,803.95. Our village green had $8,135.37. Our health insurance fund has $12,907.29, and petty cash, $52.93. And the following are our reserve checking balances. So these are all our reserve accounts, starting with the fire department, $10,370.16. The police department, $17,819.35. USDA, $144,989.81. The highway department, a reserve fund is $595.02. Snow reserve, $3,423.95. The tower reserve, $18,491.64. Unemployment reserve, $7,334.89. Court reserve, $3,443.90, and the office reserve has $1,015.36. And these are the monthly expenses for the month just concluded of October. General fund, $192,449.61. Water fund, $365,975.42. Payroll clearing account, $2,162.12, and the sewer fund, $18,550.39. I also have a special comment for this evening, which is something that the mayor asked me to share, and I'm very happy to report that for the third consecutive year, the Village of Red Hook has received no designation by the New York State Comptroller's Office with regard to fiscal stress. There are a variety of levels of designation. No designation puts us in the company of municipalities with the least fiscal stressors. So that is good news, and we've got that now for at least 3 years running.
That's great. Thank you. You're very welcome. I'll take a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Madam Treasurer.
You're welcome.
Okay, on to my reports. Do I need to report on that? I report on this? So I report on the property tax collection report as of October 2024. Property taxes due to the village total is $1,420,566.62. Total village parcels is 763. Accounts receivable outstanding to the village as of November 1, 2024. This includes the base tax due plus penalty $22,679.22. Delinquent accounts as of October 1, is that correct?
Oh, no, it should have been, sorry, November.
November. Number of delinquent accounts as of November 1 is 10. Penalties due to the village as of November 1 is $1,483.69. And that is just a report for your information. I have the library report. I did attend the library board meeting on October 17. All board members were in attendance. I was the only guest, and Alex Geller, the library's executive director, was also present. The Strategic Planning Committee held another small focus group. This committee plans to use the community needs assessment as part of their basis for strategic planning. The tabling they did at Apple Blossom and Hardscrabble was not productive. The focus groups were with leaders of organizations and groups speaking on behalf of their group. There was an acknowledgement that this wasn't a full representative sample, but they are hoping that, particularly with the addition of the community needs assessment, that they will capture the broad sense of input for the strategic planning that they do going forward. The committee is planning to report on their findings in November. Board development. This committee has met with each board member who joined in the last year. The purpose was to offer feedback, answer questions, discuss assignments, and receive feedback. The committee has also been reviewing applications for the next open board seat. They plan to have a recommendation for their November meeting. This committee is also responsible for the executive director's evaluation. The goal is to complete it by year's end. There was an acknowledgement that this hasn't been done in the past. The board discussed including a 360 process where the board gives feedback, the executive director can share their perspective, and the staff has a chance to provide feedback as well. Gareth Davies, who's the chair of that committee, plans to follow up with establishing the format for this evaluation. The policy committee met right before the board meeting, so they had a verbal report. Family leave was discussed, and the group acknowledged that they need to look at the whole benefit package in a systematic way, not one at a time. They discussed the New York family leave that the library has access to through their current insurance coverage. It was determined that the library needs a policy stating they abide by the New York family leave. Two personnel actions. There were two: the appointment of Liliana Kahan as library assistant and Julia McNulty as library clerk. When asked, Alex said the library currently has 2 full-time employees and about 10 part-time. There was a brief discussion about the healthcare plan and a question of whether the library could join the village's plan, and wondered if there would be any benefit in that. I'm sure we will review that again. Treasurer's report, Grace Katchigan, Alex Geller and Amy Husted, who is the current treasurer, met with Rose Wentworth, the library's accountant, to review the accounting and the various adjustments that are being made. Grace, who is a CPA by profession, Grace indicated that the balance sheet is still in flux from cleaning up from prior months and years. The moving around should be done by year's end. Oh, Grace is a CPA, I wrote that down. She indicated that the accountant is using workarounds in QuickBooks that are making the balance sheet change in odd ways from month to month. She is okay with it for now. She plans to review all at year end. Expenses are in line with the budget. Next year, Grace plans to change the way the library accounts for the village garbage tags to reflect that it is a pass-through and not a revenue or expense, which is how they're currently accounting for it. Under the executive director's report, he mentioned that e-circulation continues to increase significantly while physical circulation is up slightly. Foot traffic is up, but following similar seasonal trends. Programs and outreach to other organizations continue to develop. Next year, Alex plans to review the Hoopla contract as costs are going up significantly. He plans to coordinate with Tivoli Library. Several grants were received. There were personnel shifts mentioned in the Personnel Committee. The contractor for the stucco and porch projects is MCT. Work was reported to be a third complete. I can read my own notes. The completion date is contracted to be December 28th. Completion is expected before that. Other business, there was discussion of planning for the annual appeal. The Friends Group is not ready to take over that at this time. The board is working on setting up a social meeting with the Tivoli Library Board. A discussion followed on whether this would fall under the open meetings law and thus need to be public. More to come on that. Public comment, I share the upcoming village events, including Pumpkins in the Park, Halloween Parade, and tree planting. I also reminded the board that any appointments to the library board are made by the Village of Red Hook by the library's original charter. We discussed timing and expectations. And their whole packet is available on the library website. If you go to the library website, it's under Board of Trustees, and the link is actually in the middle of the text on the page. Okay, next items. Sewer project number 1. The major outstanding item is the single audit. A draft of the single audit from UHY for year ending 5/31/22 is now expected at the end of November. There is one final MWBE report from Carver Construction to be filed with EFC. Sewer expansion phase 2. The IUP listing has come out. We were not initially included in the bipartisan infrastructure funding. An appeal has been filed, which we hope will be successful for the next round of funding. We are working toward doing an income survey that might also help get us higher on the list. Yes. Abraham's Task Force. We have over 100 survey results. So thank you to everyone who has filled out a survey. I think the Pumpkins in the Park having the survey available during that event, I think added a nice another chunk of information. This month our task force will meet to review the results and set next steps. The Cookingham trails are now officially open. The new parking rules on Park Avenue seem to be working reasonably well. Anyone has any comments or thoughts, please do send them in. Though the cars parking on one side, it does narrow the road significantly, particularly when there are buses and trucks. So that is taking some change in the traffic pattern and some different expectations for people who are just trying to cut through. There's been a request to move back the no parking from here to corner sign so that it would, on the south side, so that there would be parking allowed only one side of the driveway entrance exit for 31 Linden Ave, which is the house on the southeast corner of Park and Linden. And their driveway is on Park Avenue. And I also received a call from the resident who was disappointed that they could no longer park at the base of the park on the north side of Park Avenue. They felt it was easier and safer for passengers, especially children, to exit a car right into the park. I am reviewing this with DPW foreman Jake Smith. While I'm at that, does anybody else have any thoughts or comments on the Park Avenue, the parking there? Heard anything from anybody? Okay, we'll take that as a no. If you do, please share. The UPSEU contract negotiations, Deputy Mayor Caraval and I met with UPSEU and the village reps for the police contract on October 29th. We have reached a tentative agreement, proposed MOA to follow, Memorandum of Agreement. A meeting regarding the DPW contract is scheduled actually for this Wednesday. And we also have an executive session to review the status of those at the end of this meeting. The WIA water projects. SCADA controls update. The new SCADA system is fully up and running. The alarm system is now functioning well. We fixed an issue with the phones. The phone number to the water treatment plant was the same number as to the highway garage. We have now separated the phone lines, so that seemed to solve the issues. The chlorine analyzer has not yet arrived, though it's possible that it actually arrived at the end of last week. System training is also needed. A deduct change order for $26,622 was approved at our workshop meeting and has been filed. And just for background, the SCADA system controls the water system, and this upgrade increases the efficiency of the system. Avanti Construction is the contractor. The original cost for this project was $416,700. With the deduct change order, the amount is $390,078. Cherry and Grave Street water main replacement. The very good news is the connection of the new water lines to the system took place the week of October 21st. The new mains are now online and servicing Cherry and Grave Street customers. The remaining work is paving. Prepping of the roads took place last week. Paving is scheduled for this week. I didn't see if they started today, but if they didn't start today, they should start tomorrow. The contractor is Amity Construction. Substantial completion is contracted to be December 17, 2024. But all we have left is the paving, so that should be done, if not the end of this week, certainly next week. The cost for this project is $1,003,560. There is a contingency included in that number of $100,000 that has not yet been fully utilized. So there may possibly be a small reduction in the final amount, but we'll know after the paving is complete. And then the water tank rehabilitation. The water tower is back in service. This project is now complete, except for a contracted annual inspection to take place next summer. The contractor is Worldwide Industries. The contract cost for this project is $373,500. The deduct change order for $13,100 was approved at our meeting, at our workshop meeting, and that makes the contract amount now $360,400. So it's nice when the contract amount goes down. Lead line inventory. So now we're on to other water projects. The lead line inventory. We have submitted our lead line inventory on time as required by New York State. This is a living document which we will continue to update as we get more information. Is it on the website yet?
It is.
It is available on the website. Is it under the water department?
It is.
Okay, under the water department if you go to the website. The good news is that so far we have not found any lead pipes in the village. We are required to notify all customers for whom we do not have all information on their water line. So that would include the homeowner's service line. So if we know everything about it, but we don't know for sure what the material is from the curb stop into your house, we need to let you know that we don't know, and it might be lead. So that's not meant to alarm anyone. It is just meant to alert you that because we don't know. So if you get a notice on that, you can check your own service line, and we have instructions for how to do that on our website, or you can give us a call and we can help you with that. A couple of other water projects that happened in October. We did 2 valve replacements on Linden and Park Avenue. So the DPW started out to replace a leaking valve on Linden Avenue near Park Avenue. This valve only shut off less than, actually it was 3 houses is the actual number. Only shut off 3 houses, so it was determined best not to replace the valve and just continue the line. The valve also on Linden Ave at Park Avenue, so this is a different valve, had been leaking on and off for a long time. It began to leak more consistently, so the crew replaced that valve. In doing so, they discovered that this valve had been leaking down into and probably creating a large cavity. So after replacing the valve, they dug up the hole or the cavity and filled it in. And hopefully we will see in November, after all of this work has been done, that the water that we are using actually should go down. This looks like it was a pretty sizable leak. Also just want to mention the fire hydrants. The DPW, when they flush the hydrants, they have taken measurements regarding the flow. Delaware Engineering took those measurements and rated them so that we can have an accurate map of the hydrant flows. The Red Hook Fire Company has all of this information. They've had it for a long time. Based on the makeup of our water system, not all of the fire hydrants have strong enough flow to use in a fire, meaning for a fire company to hook up to the fire hydrant and use that as their ongoing water source. We are in the process of discussing how best to identify the hydrants in the future so that other fire companies, as they come, know which fire hydrants they can use and which they shouldn't use.
Can I ask how many hydrants we have in the village? Do you know?
I have that information, but not in my head. I want to say it's a lot. 100?
There's a lot of dots on the map.
It's a lot of dots on the map, and we flush them, we now flush them every year. I will get back to you on that answer.
Not painted red, like I can't picture one in my head. Is there?
Well, there's
There's
one
one
right
right
out
down the
front
street.
here. There's one literally in front of Village Hall.
Oh,
It's an old style fire hydrant, actually.
You're right.
There's one in front of J.B. Peel's down here. Now that we've talked about it, you'll notice them.
Yes.
But we have quite a few. I just want to give an update on Archtop Fiber. Archtop Fiber has been working in various neighborhoods throughout the village. I think if you've been paying any attention and they've come to your neighborhood, you would know. They bring a lot of people all at once, and they do their work in a flurry, and then they tidy up and move on. All residents should be receiving notification from Archtop prior to their working in your neighborhood. If anyone has any questions or concerns, you can call Village Hall and we can connect you with Archtop. This work is being done by Archtop, not under our purview. They are in regular communication with our DPW foreman to coordinate their work.
Yeah, one item of concern with the work they're doing, they seem to be doing a very neat job, and they've reseeded areas where they've dug up through no fault of theirs since there's been no rain. Grass has not regrown, and I don't know whether the seed that they've left will regrow, in the spring or late fall when it does ultimately rain. So there may be a need for them to come back and fix that once, hopefully rain returns to a normal level.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice? There's actually been some areas the grass is growing, so I'm not sure if there's some people who are watering their sections or not. I've seen some grass growing in that spot, but I will make a note I have contact with Archtop Fiber. I can let them know that they should plan to come back in the spring and double check that the grass is growing. Dutchess County Transportation Council, we had a virtual meeting on October 30th. The meeting began with a presentation from consultants Cambridge Systematics, who are working on a comprehensive traffic safety study that will become part of the county's safety action plan. They reviewed grant awards, including an FTA Section 5310 Program Award to Devereaux Foundation for replacement buses. They also reviewed upcoming funding opportunities. Of note, AARP is doing some walk audits and would welcome volunteers. November 18th, 10 a.m. in Poughkeepsie. If interested, let me know and I can put you in touch. The next Dutchess County Transportation Council meeting is November 26th at 10 a.m. And then otherwise, just some other notes. The Cookingham Farm Trails had a ribbon cutting on October 7th. That you attended that too. We had a couple of us there. If you haven't been on the Cookingham Farm Trails, I highly recommend it. There's some really beautiful views and vistas, and it's a very nice walk. The Red Hook Central School District had a solar array ribbon cutting on October 16th. That was a project that, it began under the prior superintendent, so he was there to celebrate the completion of the construction. This is a solar array on the roof of the Mill Street Elementary School. This particular program, this one that they were celebrating was on the Mill Street.
On the road, yes,
Mill Road.
but there's also one on top of that. It was part of the project.
Same project?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the school has that on, all the gory details on their website as well. Pumpkins in the Park was October 19th, and we had some beautiful weather. And just wanted to say thank you to all those who made that happen, and also to acknowledge and thank having the tables go up into the park. I think it gave people an opportunity to really discover more of Abraham's Park, and having the farm trails just opened up was another opportunity for people to realize those are there. Wanted to mention the Ofrenda in the Village Hall lobby. Once again, the Red Hook Ofrenda project has installed an Ofrenda in the lobby of Village Hall. It will be up through early November. Not sure exactly when it's going to come down. Enjoying it while it's here. An ofrenda is the offering made during the annual and traditionally Mexican Day of the Dead celebration to commemorate the souls of loved ones. The Village Halloween Parade on October 26th was windy. It was a beautiful day, and a big thank you to the events committee, especially Deputy Mayor Caraval, for all of her preparation and work, and her family, the first gentleman, and Lara Hart for making this another successful event. And thank you to the village businesses who kept the celebration going with trick-or-treating after the parade. The Rotary had their Citizen of the Year this year on October 26th also. This year they honored Todd Baywright. And on behalf of the village, I presented Todd Baywright with a proclamation congratulating him on his Citizen of the Year award and to thank him for all he does for the village. And then the VFW Post 7765 had their trunk or treat on October 27. I was able to check out the decorated trucks, cars, and motorcycles. Oh, trucks, that meant to be trunks. Probably were some trucks there too. At the VFW, I did leave most of the candy for the kids. And that is my report.
One quick question before you move on, Mayor. If someone wanted to join the Abrahams Park Task Force, who would they get in touch with?
They can shoot me an email, mayor@redhooknyvillage.org.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, Deputy Mayor Kirkle.
So thankfully my reports are short because we don't know if we can I'll get through them. So Red Hook Together, the November meeting had not been held at the time of this village board meeting. The Red Hook Town Economic Development Committee meets bi-weekly at the Village Hall on second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 8:40 a.m. The committee met on October 9th and the 23rd. There was a large group of chamber members who were guests at the October 9th meeting. Conversation focused mostly on introductions and progress around the sewer projects and town moratoriums. October 23rd's meeting did not have a quorum. Dutchess County Safety Action Plan Advisory Committee, no updates to share. There will be a meeting held later this month over Zoom. Village of Red Hook Communications Committee meets every first Wednesday of the month at 1:30 p.m. in the Village Hall Conference Room. The November meeting had not been held at the time of this village board meeting, and it will be moved to tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. due to my schedule conflict with the original time on Wednesday. Village of Red Hook Hardscrabble Events Committee meets on the second Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. at Village Hall. The committee met on October 8th and planned out the Village Halloween Parade, which was held on Saturday 26th. The event enjoyed windy but beautiful weather and a large crowd which enjoyed marching through the village. An extra thank you to the Red Hook Police Department for doing such a great job of traffic control, and also to the Public Works Department who helped us with some of the last-minute solutions to modify decorations for the wind. The next Events Committee meeting will be November 12th at 6 p.m. And the Village of Red Hook Human Relations Committee meets every first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. in the Village Hall Conference Room. The November meeting had not yet been held at the time of this village board meeting. The next meeting will be November 14th due to scheduling issues. It will not be at its normal time.
And before you move on, I did forget to mention, we also took a community picture at the end of the Halloween parade, and so I'm looking for posting that in some form. It's quite wonderful.
It's great. So Village of Red Hook Highway Public Works Department. The Public Works Department is picking up leaves. Please remember the leaves, lawn clippings, and brush must be placed in separate heaps. And then snow removal and seasonal parking rules. No all-night street parking is permitted in the village from November 1st through March 31st. Vehicles parked on the streets between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. may be ticketed and towed at the owner's expense. Property owners are reminded to remove athletic equipment, garbage receptacles, and/or any other temporary obstacles from the side of streets to prevent their damage during snow removal operations. And the owner or occupant of every building/lot in the village with an adjoining sidewalk is required to remove snow and ice within 24 hours of the end of a snowstorm. The Village Highway Department, at the direction of the Village Board of Trustees, may remove uncleared snow and ice at the cost of $2 per linear foot per property owner. Charges will be assessed and collected with the next tax levy. And the scrap metal program. Revenue received since my last report was $1,319.40. Total revenue for this fiscal year, June 2024 through May 2025, to date is $2,787. Since the program's inception in September 2007, donations have yielded a total of $57,649.84. And then paving. Potholes are being patched on the village streets. All other paving projects, not including the Cherry and Grave Street, which will be repaved as part of the water project, will be proposed in the spring. And that's it for me.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
In your trash and recycling piece, you mentioned that household compost, you mentioned Monday and Saturday. And Kim, you mentioned Wednesday and Saturday?
Wednesday.
Is it
Yeah.
Wednesday?
Wednesday, that's, I don't know why it's,
And then the only other question, the cardboard bundles, I know string is fine, but I think for some reason I remember is tape is fine? Okay. All right. All good. Thank you very much. Who's next? Trustee Lang. Does somebody have his reports?
They're not in this section.
Oh, yes, there we are. Okay. I can report on what I have here. So just reporting on the utility billing. Utility bills issued in the month of October were zero. We issue bills 4 times a year, once a quarter. So penalties, finance charges issued, none. Utility payments received, $168,901.22. Accounts receivable outstanding to the village as of November 1st, $55,261.45. There was 1 billing adjustment. 8 Tower Street, $25 bounce check fee was waived. No prior bounce checks and no late payments since April 2022. Then this is not considered a leak adjustment. Regarding the water, the month of October, the water treatment facility treated 7,484,117 total gallons, which is a nice decrease from the prior several months. That's an average of 241,423 gallons per day. Given the recent valve replacements and frankly various water fixes throughout the summer, I expect that the November number will go down further, and hopefully the running rate will be at a lower level now that we've fixed a couple of leaks that appear to have been consistently running for a little while. All bacterial samples for the month were collected and transported to York Analytical, and they were absent of total coliform and absent of E. coli, as we would hope. During the month of September, which perhaps is October, the water treatment plant used 75 gallons of sodium hypochlorite. The average daily use was 2.4 gallons per day. And I do not have, there's no material. We'll have Charlie report on that at the next meeting. Okay, Trustee Bradley Ricard.
For the Village Green Committee, our upcoming planting day is this Saturday at 9 a.m. meeting here at Village Hall / the Municipal Lot. There will be a free thank you luncheon for volunteers who help plant. If you are interested in planting, please let me know by Wednesday or Thursday so I can make sure to order food for the luncheon. And if you have any necessary dietary accommodations, we've got 10 trees to plant this fall. And residents and businesses interested in having trees planted on their adjacent village street or New York State Highway right-of-ways, volunteering for planting days, or sponsoring a VGC beautification project, you can contact myself or Jen Cavanaugh, village clerk. We're actively recruiting members for this committee, so if you're interested in giving back to your community but don't have a lot of time, this might be the perfect committee for you. And right now we're working on putting together some information for our residents about the spongy moth species and what local residents can do to help mitigate the concerns of the invasion for the upcoming year. For the sewer department, we meet every other Friday, and if you have any concerns about the expansion and or currently in the sewer use area and have comments, concerns, etc., please don't hesitate to reach out. There's an expression of interest form up on our website if you're wanting to connect into the sewer system. Obviously capacity is required, but it will put you on our list of places to consider and put you on the radar. For current sewer rates, please see the attached report, which I have here. So for the Red Hook Commons plant, which is the original plant, they used about 8,000 gallons per day during the month of September, and the new plant used 38,000 gallons per day. For all of the tests, they had 4 that they did in September. all of them came back within the proper parameters for the year. And there are a few elements and deficiencies notated. One which is the sand filter, which has never been rebuilt. And the other one is the backflow prevention replacement, which is in need of replacement at this point. And as a reminder to all residents, whether you're in the sewer use area or not, please be kind to your pipes. And if the emergency alarm goes off, call the village sewer operator 845-758-1081, option 8, and then press silence alert after you've made contact. Please don't open the box or tamper with any village-owned equipment. The speed limit initiative, we received an updated draft report from the engineers and have a few questions that we sent back to them. We're waiting for an updated draft prior to sharing publicly. However, we are interested in reaching, well, at the time that I wrote this, we hadn't quite reached out to the school district, but we at this point have, and they are excited to support a school zone speed limit in their area. For the Village, Town, and Greenway Trails Committee, there were no meetings in the month of October due to conflicting schedules. However, there was an organized trail walk to some of the newer cleared trails off of Aspinwall. And for the Climate Smart communities, we're actively seeking members, and we are hoping to have a standing meeting on the book soon. And Steve and I will be meeting with Lindsay to coordinate the final assessment from Cornell Cooperative Extension this Friday, which will be an exciting thing to bring to the board to see where we're at for our planning. And that's the end of my reports.
Yeah, and that final assessment is hopefully in line to be discussed at our November workshop.
Correct.
Can I get a copy of that draft report, even if it's not ready for everyone else to see? The speed one?
Sure, I can forward it to you. And Trustee Appenzeller, you're up.
Good evening. The building department report is not available, so that will be included in a report in a future meeting. For the Public Spaces Initiative and other planning activities, the Public Spaces Initiative has public meetings held on the fourth Saturday of each month at 10 a.m. here in Village Hall. The October meeting was not held because of the time conflict with Pumpkins in the Park, which I'll talk about later in the report, and the mayor also included in her report. The November meeting will take place, and actually took place on this past Saturday, November 2nd. Key topics which were discussed include the Seed Library, which is located at the Rental Community Center. It was relocated to a more visible and accessible location, and the PSI group will be continuing discussions and planning on how to maximize visibility and benefit of the Seed Library, and restocking that with seeds so they are available when spring planting time does come around. The Repair Cafe has become a regular partner with the Public Spaces Initiative. They tabled at the September 7th Repair Cafe at the Community Center, and they're planning to participate in the next Repair Cafe, which is going to be taking place at the Community Center on January 25th. Village Hall garden planting discussions will hopefully move forward, about discussing design, budget, and maintenance considerations for plantings, in or around the Village Hall area, including the parking lot across the street from us. And finally, the big event, which is kind of a culmination of the activity season, was Pumpkins in the Park, as the mayor said. That took place at Abraham's Park on Saturday, October 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Weather, as has been the case for most of the weekends this fall, was extraordinary, and the event was successful. And I think there are two things to account for that. One, obviously the wonderful weather. Also, Abraham's Park has been getting more traction with the community and outreach for folks with kids who make up the prime audience for that has been increased. So as each year passes, more and more people know about that. I have here that 75 people attended, but I think my count was a little bit low. Ash counted probably closer to 100 people. And as the mayor mentioned, there were tables up and down the pathway in the park extending towards where the new pathways to the Cookingham property have recently opened. The Renner Community Center participated. They were involved with some arts and crafts activities. And in talking to many of the attendees, there were a couple of really positive developments. There were a lot of people who, this was their initial visit to Abraham's Park. They now know it exists and how wonderful it is. And for almost everyone, this was their first opportunity to walk on those new trails, which really are remarkable. It's a wonderful place to walk. People were thrilled to learn about that. And we also had information about the Abraham's Park Community Survey, which is still open. We welcome people to submit their information. We had some scannable codes, so people, a few people did it while they were there. Hopefully other people provided that information at some later point in time. And information was also shared on the opportunity for folks to bring unpainted pumpkins to the town recycling center. Thanks to work that Lori did, there was extra capacity for the very large unpainted pumpkins being recycled, and I know I was happy to bring mine there. And the final tally of the costs will be put together, main cost being rental of the portable restroom that was there, which is needed for all events, and then the pumpkins, although they were provided at a very steep discount. On the planning side, the village's planner Nelson Pope and Voorhees has prepared an initial draft of zoning language to amend the existing code to create what is being termed a Gateway North zoning district, where the proposed mixed-use zoning project on the properties of Cookingham East and adjacent areas will be located. This initial draft, we have a meeting to review later this week, and once those initial conversations have been completed, a revised document will be made available for further review and ultimately public community discussions and hearings. And Nelson Pope and Voorhees will further assist the village with the secret process and other next steps as the project moves forward.
Super. General business. Anybody have any general business to bring forward? Hearing none. I'll take a motion to review to pay bills after audit.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment, as there is no public. I see none. I would like to go into executive session to review the union negotiations. I do not expect any action following executive session. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.